Welcome to Marvel Universe 19, where we dive deep into the extraordinary world of Marvel Comics. Join us, your hosts, myself, Cosplay Dude 637, Ty Tiger, Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, and even A-Crown, as we explore the adventures of your favorite characters from the Marvel Universe, such as the iconic X-Men, the thrilling New Mutants, and the dynamic Marvel Rising Heroes, along with Avengers, Fantastic Four, any Marvel hero you can think of, you'll hear it here on this channel. So, sit back, get ready, and join us for an epic journey through Marvel Universe 19. Chapter 1, The Recall.
No place to hide, no place to run, no place to run. The mutant age has now begun. X-Men, X-Men, it's the day, X-Men, coming your way. Magneto's hordes are on the way to pillage, burn, and plunder. But there's one team that will not yield, the team that strikes like thunder. X-Men, X-Men, it's the day, X-Men, coming your way.
In the office of Jean and Scott Summers, it was nice inside, with two desks that faced each other. The walls were lined with filing cabinets and the desks were covered with papers. Scott sits at his desk looking over some papers. Jean walks in and sits two more papers in front of him. "You're joking me, right? 2 more enrollments?" Scott says, looking at the papers. Then to Jean. Jean smiles. "No, I'm not," she replies. "That makes 100 this week alone," Scott says, picking up the papers. "I know, and now the big question is, who is going to help us teach all of them?" Jean replies with a look of dread. In their minds, they hear the professor's voice. "Jean, Scott, please come to the rec room." The two look at each other with a weird look and then walk to the rec room holding hands. When the two arrive, they are greeted by a great surprise. Standing next to the professor was none other than the blue ball of fur, the Beast, a.k.a. Dr. Hank McCoy. "Hank!" Jean yells and runs over and hugs him. "Hello, Jean. I have missed you too," Hank returns the hug. "I don't mean to sound rude, but what are you doing here?" Scott asks. Hank gives a chuckle. "I asked him and some of the former X-Men to return," Xavier explains. "How? I thought the X-Men were no more," Jean said. "I told them I only need teachers. I would not ask them to fight again," Xavier explains. "So, who's all coming back, Professor?" Hank asks. "Let me see. Storm, Wolverine, Jubilee, Rogue, Havoc." Xavier pauses and looks over at Scott. Scott just nods. "Shadowcat, Nightcrawler, Iceman, Psylocke, and Magma," Xavier says.
Hey listeners, if you like what you're hearing from Cosplay Dude 637, then you might like to hear more from the Zeo to Hero network, like the main podcast with Jimmy and I, the Bulk and Skull of podcasting. Also, you might want to check out Baker Rangers on Facebook and YouTube, Iron Avenger on TikTok, Neon Lights on YouTube.
Over the next few weeks, the former X-Men returned to the school. The last one to arrive was Alex Summers, a.k.a. Havoc, a.k.a. Scott's little brother. Alex walks through the door and yells, "Yeah, that's right, ladies. Alex is back, baby!" Bobby walks around the corner and smiles at Alex. "So what's your point, Alex? The coolest man alive is already here." Alex laughs a little, sitting his bag down. "What's up, Ice Cube? Prof ask you back too?" Bobby smiles and nods. "So, where's my big bro?" Alex asks. "The last time I saw him, he was in the danger room," Bobby replies and walks off. Rogue walks past them and bumps into Alex a little too hard. He falls over and she just keeps walking. Kitty walks over and helps him up. "What's with Rogue?" Alex asks, getting back to his feet. "Gambit's not coming back," Kitty said. "Oh great, now we're going to have a pissed off Rogue," Alex said. "Just like that Cajun to screw our lives," Logan says, walking up. "Logan, I would watch what I say if I were you," Kitty says. "Now why would I do that? He is nothing but..." Logan starts to say, but is unable to finish his sentence, for just then, Rogue threw him through the double doors all the way out into the street. Alex and Kitty look at Rogue. Damn, girl! The next one to badmouth Gambit meets my fist, Rogue says and storms off. I don't know what I'm more scared of, my students or her, Alex says with a little giggle. Definitely Rogue, Kitty replies.
Hello, fellow listeners. Are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then I will begin. I'm going to read you a story of ancient beings of time and light, of group of champions flying in their metal shells, of great warriors and their epic mechs of evil villains, of darkness and terror. Come join me, the Red Cornish Ranger, as I present Nerds Through Comics, an epic telling of your classic comics and graphic novels. Please come sit comfortably and enjoy Nerds Through Comics from the Zero to Hero Network.
A week has now passed and the school was running smoothly. Rogue sat in the professor's office. Care to tell me why you are so angry? Xavier asks. Not really, Professor, Rogue replies. Well then, let me guess. This is about Remy, Xavier says. Rogue balls up her fists. I see I am right, Xavier says. Why, Professor? Why would he not come back? Rogue asks as she tries to fight back tears. My dear, you know I cannot answer that. With his powers, if Remy does not want me to find him, I will not be able to, Xavier says. Rogue just cries into her hands. Xavier wheels over from behind the desk and lays his hands on her back. My dear child, I know you are hurt and upset. In time, I feel that you will start to feel better. A part of you will never forget Remy, but you must face it. Focus on work. The task at hand will help. I fear Mr. Lebeau will not be joining us. Rogue takes a deep breath and dries her eyes. You're right, Professor. My students need me, Rogue says, standing up and walking out. Gambit, you damn fool. You hurt that girl more by not being here, Xavier says, looking out the window. Rogue makes her way to the rec room where Kurt, Alex, Hank, Bobby, and Kitty are sitting watching the news. Rogue, have you seen this? Kitty asks, pointing to the TV. On the TV, the Avengers are battling a group of Sentinels. That should be us, Bobby shouts. I know, right? Alex adds. It is no longer our place, Hank says. I know, but we could be a team again, like the old days, Bobby said. Sugar, give it up. We aren't even all here, Rogue says. If you're talking about him, I would not get your hopes up, Bobby says. Boy, I'd run if I were you, Alex says. I'm sorry, my young friends, but we are not a team anymore, just a group of... Hank says, but is unable to finish his sentence. Group of what? Kitty says, looking back from the TV. But what she sees is a shocked look on Alex and Bobby's face. Kurt, Rogue, and Hank have vanished. This podcast is a production of the Three Ranger Bros Studios, in association with Zero to Hero, the podcast. Thank you all for listening to that story. I hope you enjoyed it. Just a reminder that all my fanfictions are just that, fanfictions, and does not mean to infringe on the mainstream continuity that it's from. Now, I'd like to take a little bit of time to thank all those that support me. First off, you have the Three Ranger Bros Studio, which consists of myself, Cosplay Dude 637, my Parabatai and dear friend, Ty Tiger, with all his YouTube channels, Tiger Tales, and his new podcast, the Tiger Nexus Podcast. Then, of course, last but definitely not least, we have Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger, with his podcast, Nerds Through Comics. And then there's the guys at Zero to Hero, the podcast. Jim and Billy, the bulk and skull of podcasting. Anything nerdy you think you have ever talked about, I guarantee they have an episode about it. So definitely go check them out. Then we have Jared over on If You Give a Dad a Podcast. An amazing guy, a dad like myself that just loves talking to nerdy people about every subject. So definitely go give him a listen also. Then there's Jacob, aka the Iron Avenger, on TikTok and Instagram. We also have to give a shout out to Ben, the Baker Ranger. And last but not least, there is Tony, our good friend. And an honorable mention to the late, great Rebel Ranger, Sam. We love you, we miss you. Every person I just mentioned is a member of the Zeo to Hero Network. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of time to mention some of the friends of the Zeo to Hero Network. First off, we have Casey from the Mighty Morphin Conspiracy Theories, Justin, aka A-Crown, from the Author's Crown YouTube channel, Johnson of Western Strike, Rob, aka Lightning Collector 2021, James, better known as Beauty_Baba Yaga, Justin the Green Spartan Ranger, and Michael and Nathan of the Power Trip. Everyone I just named has been a huge supporter to me and my podcast, and if you can, go give them a follow. It would mean the world to me. Thanks a lot. Until next time, guys. Later days.